So last night at Fantastic Fest, I attended a secret screening that ended up being Marvel Studios' Werewolf by Night. Now, this was not on my radar at all, as a lot of you guys know that have been following me on Twitter, and for some of the reviews that I've done on this channel, I've been extremely burnt out by Marvel, and especially the Disney Plus content, and pretty much all of it has disappointed me. There hasn't been a single piece of the Disney Plus Marvel content that I would give a really positive review for. So this is something I went into completely blind. I didn't watch the trailer when they first announced it back at D23, I believe. I don't know anything about the actual character or the source material. So essentially, I just watched a 50-minute Marvel classic werewolf type movie. I am as much of a blank slate on this property as you could possibly be. And so essentially what this is something that Marvel is going to be trying out apparently with the Disney Plus content, and it's just a special. It's just a little television special. It's a 50-minute film. It's not a pilot to a TV show. It's not a full-length feature. It's just something different. So starting off with the positives for Werewolf by Night, as somebody that is a big horror fan, as somebody that loves a lot of the classic 30s and 40s style of horror filmmaking, like the Universal Monsters, and even kind of in the horror comedy of things like Abbott and Costello, I love the fact that this was trying to harken back to something like that, like 30s and 40s monster movies. It's all in black and white, the way that it's filmed, the way that it's lit, even the way, aside from some of the Marvel humor and some of the more modern dialogue that creeps in here and there, it's even kind of paced, and it's even styled as far as the dialogue and the character interactions to match something that fits more into that era of filmmaking. And so it was really cool to watch something like that in the MCU. For better or worse, one of the best things about the MCU is that they're a property that likes to stretch their legs and dip into a lot of different subgenres, a lot of different eras, and capture a lot of different flavors of film out there that all belong within one universe. And I think this is one of the more successful attempts at that. Especially the lighting, though. That was the biggest thing that I just enjoyed the hell out of watching. When you film something for black and white, you have to light it entirely differently than when you would if you were filming it for color. And the way that some of the carnage, the way that the creature transformations, and some of the more classic horror elements were all done with lighting and shadows, and even things that you see that are off in the background that are meant to be in shadows is very different experience in black and white because it's just different shades of blacks and grays. That was the best part of this for me, was just seeing how you could go back and capture that old school style of filmmaking to where you're getting all these really cool effects without really showing it to us. It's just the background effects and the shadow effects that are kind of fleshing out what's going on in our mind. This is also possibly the goriest thing that MCU has done so far. Now, it's not like extreme carnage, it's not rated R, it's definitely something around the PG-13, and being the fact that it is in black and white and blood is just black whenever it's spraying, I'm sure they were able to get away with a lot more as far as a tamer rating than they would have if it was in color. But there's limbs being torn off, there's blood spraying, and there's definitely some carnage candy in here that was surprising to me, because we've seen the MCU get violent certainly a number of times, but this is the first time where it really felt like horror carnage. Even earlier this year in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which before this was the most horror-centric thing that the MCU had ever done, the carnage in here is tenfold what we got in Doctor Strange. And eventually when they do reveal the creature design of the main character, the werewolf, I thought that it was a really cool design. Again, harkening much back towards the original Wolfman movies, and not so much the modern movies where people just turn into full-on wolves or things that are full-on CG. This is something that keeps the wolf but also keeps the human side of things, and it's kind of a hybrid of both of those to where you definitely still see the character, the lead actor, in that monster design, and just kind of keeping the same theme with everything that I've liked so far. That style that they had back in the 30s and 40s, the creature design, again, just kind of taps into all of that, and was a really cool reveal when you finally do get into the third act and finally see the werewolf. I also want to praise the director, Michael Giacchino. Now, you guys know him as a composer. He just did the Batman score earlier this year. The guy's got a ton of credits under his belt, and as somebody that has never directed anything before, he did a fantastic job. So for somebody that I heard the name and I was like, I know that name, but not as a director, that's a guy that I want to see more out of his directing abilities now. He's a fantastic composer, and it looks like he might be a fantastic director too. Overall, this is the first thing that I've seen from the Disney Plus model of the MCU that I actually would be really interested in clicking on the next episode if it was a series. This is something that I would want to see more on because it really does kind of appeal to all the things that I love as a horror fan, and it still has some of that MCU flavor that definitely makes it fit into their template, and you can immediately recognize just based off of the dialogue what universe you're watching. But this is such a different, unique take on the MCU and this universe, and it's such a breath of fresh air that I really would want to see more. Which leads me to my negatives, and the biggest one is kind of a backwards compliment to this, and that I want more, and there's nothing more to watch. This is just a 50-minute little short film, and it's just, I don't know what to do with it. Again, I find myself so confused with the Disney Plus MCU model, to where I've complained so many times about these little 6-episode shows, to where it feels like when you watch them, it either should have been shortened to a movie or should have been extended out to a full series, and this 6-episode model just feels like some strange compromise. And now they've gone the extreme other direction, to where you get something like this where I'm like, that's perfect for a movie, or that's perfect for a series, and we get a 50-minute version of it. And so I didn't even know until after the credits rolled and I started Googling and looking things up while they were doing the Q&A with Michael Giacchino that this was just a special. I was like, okay, well, that was a cool first episode. I'll definitely check it out. Oh, there's nothing else. Well, fuck. And so it just kind of, once again, makes me feel like Marvel at this point, or just Disney in general, is just putting products in front of me. Like, this feels like a passion project for Michael Giacchino, and it feels like everybody that was behind the camera and in front of the camera really put their heart and soul into it, but just the green lighting of this, the conceptualizing of this idea of, we're just going to do this 50-minute special on this, and that's it, presumably for now. Maybe in the future we'll get more. It's just odd to me. I feel like everybody that watches this, that loves it, is going to go, that's it? Why? And the other negative that I have is the humor, and it's not that the humor in this is bad. It's passable. There was a couple of good laughs out of the theater and some smirks out of me, but it feels so out of place with how well they captured that 30s and 40s model of filmmaking, that whenever you throw an MCU joke or a moment of humor in there, it just feels so foreign. And I feel like that's the one element of the MCU formula that they need to get a little bit more sparing with, because there's some movies and there's some characters and some projects that humor absolutely needs to be there. I feel like if anything that they've done in the 12 plus years that they've been doing this universe, this is the one project that they should have said, goofy modern humor doesn't quite fit here, does it?
Good luck. I'll be rotting for you.
But overall, guys, as a horror fan, I really enjoyed what they did here. I think a lot of you will. I'm just extremely frustrated that this is all that I get. So keep an eye out. October 7th, this is going to be dropping on Disney Plus, and let me know in the comments what you guys thought about it when you do see it. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, please click over here for some more of my Marvel MCU content, and I'm also going to put up here a playlist of my top 50 horror films. If you're a horror fan, finding me. Thank you for watching. As always, like and share and hit the subscribe button, and as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.